everybody, and welcome to Let's Look at AlterEgo Dreamwalker. I kinda wish it was AlterEgo Firewalker, like that old Chuck Norris movie. Sadly, no. But this is an interesting game in its own right. It is a foreign developed, and the reasons that I say that will appear quite obvious once we get started, puzzle platformer, but it's not a physics-based puzzle platformer, which is refreshing for me, because most puzzle platformers I play as we get started here are of the vein, it's like, hey, use your special ability to move crate X over here and put it on switch Y, and then door Z will open. Door Z, also my favorite Arma 2 combined operations mod. But this is much more of a traditional, like, retro-styled puzzle platformer where it's like, hey, you start on a stage, which is just like a big square. You have to collect all of the trinkets before the door to the next stage will open up, basically. And this just came out on Desura a few days ago, and it's actually only $3. So it is definitely on the cheap side of things. I have mixed opinions on this game so far. Let's start maybe level 4. I've only played about a half hour of this so far. It's got an interesting concept. I'm not 100% sure that the execution works all the time, but the concept is interesting nonetheless, and I think it has a pretty rockin' soundtrack. So basically, we're playing as this kind of Bomberman looking dude here that you can see by the right torch, not the crucifixion symbol over here, but in any case, we also have an alter ego with us, I guess you could say, and basically he exists in an alternate dimension, but what we can do, the gimmick of this game, if you will, is that we can use the Z key to switch between our characters here. So basically, this is going to allow us to access areas that are otherwise inaccessible. I'll explain it perhaps in a little bit greater detail once we get a little bit further on, or once I come back down here. By the way, we can jump on enemies as well. One of the biggest weaknesses, I would say, with this game is the way that it handles kind of antagonizing enemies. Not just that, you know, jumping on enemies is cliche, because that doesn't bother me at all. But instead, the kind of respawning nature of the enemies is pretty annoying, and the jumping physics don't always seem to be, shall we say, intuitive to me. It doesn't, and I always fall in this trap when I'm playing platforming games where I'm like, it doesn't control like Mario or Super Meat Boy, the 2 out of 10, and I want to try to avoid that. But at the same time, it is kind of a weird control scheme. Anyway, that level has been finished. What I wanted to demonstrate before we got to the end there is that, okay, first I should say that there is some broken English in this game. I'm not going to harp on it and make fun of it. Desura has kind of different, more flexible standards, shall I say, than some certain distribution platforms, so there are some typos and stuff in this, more than you would expect in a game that is out for, like, actual premium retail release, but in any case, let's see what he says here as we go through some slowdown for whatever reason. No, we're just starting. Okay. So, let me try to find a good example of how to demonstrate why this switching mechanic is important, because it might not have made it perfectly clear on that earlier segment there. So this is a good example right here. Take a look at this ladder. So basically this ladder on the left doesn't go all the way up to the top, and my jump is not high enough to reach it. So the only way that I'm going to be able to get those is by somehow getting our other dude, our phantom dude, up there to the top left, and then switching with him. I know how to do this, but first things first, we also have a limited number of switches as indicated by the number on top of our phantom man. So what I want to do is make sure that I'm not using too many, or we put ourselves in a difficult position. Actually, the respawning enemies are essential for certain parts, I think. But for right now, I think all we need to do here is switch once, get our guy up to the top, and then use our final switch to switch again, because there are phantom pixels that can only be collected by our phantom dude. Now, just don't get hit by the dog. This is definitely a platformer that requires patience. If you just try to rush through things, as I almost always do, you will find yourself in a difficult position. Occasionally, we'll have things like this as well, where there's like a teleporter or elevator introduced. I'm not 100% clear on how these behave all the time, but I just try to, you know, I guess when you walk through the center, the dude gets teleported up to the top. It's a little weird, but, you know, you can live with it. This is actually one of the levels that bothered me a lot when I played it, but I think I should be okay here. We're gonna ride this ladder, then at the very top, we're gonna switch, and we only have 2 switches remaining now, which is probably how I fail half of my levels. I'd say I fail half the levels by... Oh, don't get hit. I fail half of the levels by getting hit by enemies, and half of the levels by running out of switches, and thus being, like, absolutely physically unable to complete levels. Anyway, let's get ourselves back up here. Should be pretty clear how we are going to be the rest of this level now, with 2 switches remaining. We're going to jump on this switch, and then just make the jump over the center median there, and we should be able to land back in the center. So let's try this again. Let's talk about how I came to discover this game as I switched to get on this elevator right here. I was trolling through Desura because it's kind of a weak for, oh, can I even make this jump? That's the real question. I guess I could do it like this. Switch in midair. It's kind of a weak week for Steam releases, and I apologize for my accidental alliteration there. I guess it happened twice in a row, technically. Our exit is down here. So I was trolling through Desura, as I often do when it's a light week on Steam, to see if there's any cool stuff there. That's how I found Bleed this week, and a couple of other games that might show up on the channel a little bit later. But in my studies there on Desura, I saw that this game actually had a 10 rating, which now I realize, you know, pretty much every game that initially comes to Desura, the user rating is like somewhere in the you know, 8s to 10s, unless the game is absolutely broken. So I'm assuming, like, the developer just has, like, friends and family rated, or people who, I don't know, kickstarted the game or something like that. I'm not trying to say this is an awful game by any stretch of the imagination. It's certainly not a 10 out of 10. But that's how I came to discover it. And, oh, how am I going to do this? I think we've already gotten all those. So we just switch like this, and like this. We still have 2 switches remaining, so this should be easy enough, I think. As we just let me fall here, thank you. And with 2 switches remaining, we should do this again. So yeah, I found this because it had an absolutely perfect rating on Desura. And as such, you know, I kind of feel like it backfired if they did AstroTurf the ratings a little bit, because as I was playing it, I was like, this isn't a 10 out of 10 game. But, you know, it's $3, and that's how I came to discover it in the first... that's what I mean when I say that I don't necessarily like how you deal with enemies. Like, in Mario, that jump would have effing worked. That was... I wish I could rewind time as well. But, you know, let's not get in the habit of saying every platform game sucks if it's not Braid, Super Mario World, or Super Meat Boy. Let's just wait for this enemy to respawn. So I have kind of mixed feelings on this game so far. It's pretty unpolished, and... you know, even as a kid, there were a lot of these games on, like, the NES and the, Super Nintendo, and basically the 8-bit and 16-bit consoles. Oh, I fucked it up. Let's just restart the level. The 18-bit, or 16-bit and 8-bit consoles of that era. And I never really liked these puzzle platformers. I always liked, you know, the platformers that were just about actually finishing the level and, you know, beating a boss. Your Crash Bandicoots and your Marios, Sonics, and Chester Cheetah's Super Wild Wild Quest, if you will. Which sounds like a Will Smith song now that I think about it. But, so yeah, these games have never really been my cup of tea, but I'm having a reasonably half-decent time with this one so far. How do I want to do this again? I think I switched like so, land on this dude's head, and then land over here. And there are Phantom Pixels. We only have 1 switch remaining, if I remember correctly. My Phantom is right now stuck in that wall there, which is probably not going to be good for him. So I think we switch again right now, and we should be okay to finish the level now. It's kind of a weird bag, because I'm, like, playing the game, and I'm like, you know, it's fun enough. Oh, I hate... sometimes there's, like, things where I'm like, this could have used a little bit more QA testing to make it a little bit more satisfying. Like, that jump, I feel like, should have been much easier than it is. And this jump right here, I don't even want to do it, because I thought the risk of running into enemies was super high. I feel like you should be able to jump a little bit higher than you actually are able to jump. Alas. Let's just try to do this part as fast as possible, because this level took me forever my first time. Regardless, you know, for $3, it's the kind of game where if you're into this sort of thing, I think you could find, you know, a reasonable amount of value in this, although it's not quite as good as I had initially anticipated. I'm a little bit milquetoast on the whole thing, I guess is what I should say here. And I'm also a little bit milquetoast on my pronunciation, but, you know, it's M-I-L-Q-U-E, toast. I'm not sure if you're supposed to really lay into the, like, milk toast, I'm like... that might even be a borderline racist impression. I don't know. I think now I want to get my dude to the surface here, like so. I guess it's not really the surface, and then we just drop down onto this platform, and we should be able to finish the level. That went way faster than when I was doing this in my blind playthrough. There's also a free demo available on Desura, and I know that free demos tend to be a popular source of entertainment. So if you're interested in that, you know, if you're... oh, that was such a stupid jump. If you're the kind of person who likes playing a lot of free demos and you're, you know, lamenting on Twitter like, oh, there's no free demos on Steam, woe is me, what's happening to the indie gaming landscape? Go check out Desura, man. There's like a free demo for almost every single game. It might even be for every single game. I'm just not sure if it's actually mandated. So, you know, there's a lot of games on Desura that are also on Steam, so if you're looking to check them out, go check out Desura. There will oftentimes be a free demo there. That's Northernlion's indie tip of the day. I can't believe I died there again. I feel like by standing on top of that bird, I should probably have been in a position where I could kill it, but alas, maybe you do actually have to jump, or maybe he hit me on my shin. I hate those skeletons that throw fireballs like the axes in Castlevania. That's okay, we'll just ignore them. Well, not ignore them, we'll focus on avoiding their bullshit is what we'll do. And that bat is gonna be annoying as well. But yeah, like, check out Desura. Desura gets a bad rap, man. It's a really great distribution platform. Sometimes the quality, it's a little varied compared to Steam, which is relatively... I mean, Steam is not necessarily consistent. There's games on Steam that are absolutely awful, of course, but, you know, generally the games that come out on Steam adhere to a certain standard of quality, whereas Desura can be more of a mixed bag, but that also lets some really cool games get in, like Teleglitch, for example, which I don't believe has been greenlit yet, despite being one of the best games that I've played in recent memory. Anyway, this is getting off topic here. We're playing AlterEgo Dreamwalker. Always want to say AlterEcho for whatever reason. Was there another game called AlterEcho? I feel like there might have been. We want to execute a switch here, I think. And then just fall through like so. And then maybe one more switch? Is that what we want to do? I can't switch there for some reason, because I guess I would phase into a wall. Seems weird to me. Now just don't get hit by a fireball. That happens so often to me. And don't get hit by the bats either. That's actually like a real possibility here. Or the fireball. No! Okay, we're still alive. And then I fell through the level, apparently. Again, I landed on that sweet geyser of fireworks there, so I kind of expected that to be the end. This is my main source of contention with this game. And my main source of anger with this game is that levels take forever. So, you know, there's no checkpoints. If you mess up at any point during this puzzle, which could take you a minute, 45 seconds, whatever, it's frustrating either way, then you have to redo the entire thing from the very beginning, which to me kind of reeks of wasting my time, if I'm being as unnice about it as possible. You know, you can make the claim that I should be oh my god. I should be a more patient gamer, but at the same time, it's very, very frustrating to get, like, all the way through a level and then die to a renegade fireball, as could have happened very easily right there. Especially, like, with enemies respawning, there's always risk, and I mean, that keeps things... You're always on your toes when you're trying to play the game, because enemies respawn in, like, 20 seconds. But at the same time, it does feel really unfair when you've killed an enemy twice, and then a single lucky fireball comes out and manages to kill you. Again, this is a flawed game, at the very least. I don't really enjoy it all that much. But, you know, my preferences on platformers have very clearly been stated many times on the channel. So let's just focus here and actually finish the level. Get all of those, and then we have to switch again. I don't have any switches left? Did I use switches too many times? You know what we're gonna do is actually select level. I've already beaten this level. Let's move on to level 11. I'm not sure how many levels are in the entire game. Looking like we're certainly well past 20. Into the 30s. If I know my platform games, I would say we're looking at a 40 to 50 level game, but, you know, take that with a grain of salt. You might want to go look that up on a developer's website. So in terms of overall playtime, you know, that varies. It's at least more than a couple of hours. So there is a phantom enemies here, so what a problem. They can hurt me, be careful. Again, the broken English thing is not something I'm harping on for humor's sake, even though there might be some humor in that. It's more to demonstrate, you know, this comes from a different distribution platform where the same rules do not necessarily apply. There doesn't need to be a perfect English localization in order for this product to be for sale. I really, you know, I've talked a little bit about the negatives of this game. There is a phantom enemy here, by the way, so I have to make sure that my dude doesn't hit him like he just did right there, or I'll die. I've harped a lot about bad things in this game, or things that I don't like all that much, but I really do like the soundtrack. I think the soundtrack is incredibly well done, and I like the visuals as well. I think the game looks good. I'm struggling to think of a game that it looks like to kind of draw a comparison, but I guess you can figure that out for yourself. It almost has kind of like a Legend of Dungeon vibe in the kind of lighting effects on the torches, but the kind of level structure, or the actual like sprites, looks a little bit like Ice Climbers, I guess, which, you know, seems like a fitting influence given the kind of nature of the game here, like, you know, the somewhat cooperative nature, at least. Like, single-player cooperative, anyway. Also, the other thing is, it's weirdly unsatisfying that enemies don't spawn after 3 blinks, they spawn after 4. This is the most incredibly minute complaint I can come up with, but it's kind of like, you know, when you're listening to, like, a piece of music and you expect that it's gonna hit a major chord or something, and then it goes super minor on you, and you're like, whoa. Like, something is wrong with the Matrix right now. Like, it's not necessarily, like, an awful thing. It's just something that's a little bit unsettling, shall we say, and, you know, maybe that makes me an idiot, but so be it. So let's just try to beat this level, and then this will be where we will finish off the video, because I don't think there's too much more that needs to be said. Oh, don't land on the bat. Thank you very much. We have to fall down to this one as well. And there will be some phantom pixels that we want to get. The levels are not all that difficult. Like, in terms of, like, conceptually, the puzzles are super easy to figure out. That almost killed me. That did kill me. Oh my god. Okay, we're gonna end it here. The puzzles are not that difficult to figure out. The difficulty comes from one single mistake can set you back, like, 45 seconds to a minute, which is really annoying. Anyway, this is AlterEgo Dreamwalker. I have mixed opinions. Kind of reminds me of my feelings on Uzi's Earth Adventures, but I know there are certain people that are into these retro-style collectathon puzzle platformers, and if you're into that sort of thing, feel free to check this out on Desura. There is a free demo. Above all else, feel free to check out Desura, which I feel is a very underrated, underexposed distribution platform if you're into getting free demos. But in any case, links are going to be in the video description. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.